Good evening to everyone. On behalf of Satyashoda Collective, we welcome you all for this today's talk. We have been organizing series of lectures on Dalit food cultures. Uh, 3 months back, we invited papers for the edited volumes on Dalit food cultures. Uh, Myself, Dr. Chandraya Gopani, and Dr. Anand Kumar, we began to work on this edited volume projects, and we got a very good response from across India, and both from the established and emerging scholarship. So we felt very happy, and we began to work. A part of this exercise, we thought of that since there is a lack of discussion in the public domain, and those who are contributing their chapters to the volumes, so we can have a discussion with those contributors so that there will be a public discussion on this emerging area, particularly food studies. And when it comes to Dalit food cultures, rarely discussion takes place. There are very few articles which are available in online, but otherwise you do not find very serious engagement with the Dalit food cultures. Given the socio-economical political conditions that are emerging, and we felt that there is a need to deeply engage and document, analyze the Dalit food humanities. The Dalit food cultures. So with this part, with this objective, we began to organize lectures, series of lectures. We have been uploading whatever lectures we have so far we have done, and one can check which are available Satyashoda Collective YouTube channel. Part of this series, we are inviting uh, Diwakar Jilla and Triveni Pagilla. So today they are going to speak on the topic uh, is the practice of butchering and cooking uh, in Dalit food cultures, particularly the art of butchering or the art of cooking become very essential when we talk about any food cultures in any community. So Dalits have a very rich experience and the very diverse experiences in these two very important themes. And Diwakar and Triveni, they were doing field work to write this paper, and they are doing PhD. Both of them, they are doing PhD in the Department of Sociology from University of Hyderabad. They are very committed scholars as well as socially very active people in the student struggles. Their commitment is very inspiring for the new generation of scholars and activists. They are also working the organization was in strength friend, and their contributions are very, very important. I feel the emerging scholarship like Diwakar and Triveni will definitely will contribute socially relevant knowledge, and also their social engagement outside academics also will definitely contribute towards social transformation in the larger society. With this, we are recording this today's discussion. Later, we will upload to YouTube for the wider audience. They will be speaking for 40 to 50 minutes, and then we will have a question answer session for 15 to 20 minutes. Then we will conclude the session. With this, I invite Diwakar to begin and it is up to the two speakers how do they manage the time and the presentation. Now I invite Diwakar to begin the presentation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Chandraya. Triveni will begin the presentation, and I will take over in the findings and discussion part. Yeah, I request Triveni to start the presentation.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, everything is okay from your side.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Professor Chandraya and Dr. Anand Kumar, for giving us this opportunity to present our paper, The Practice of Butchering and Cooking. Like Professor Chandraya introduced, let me introduce myself. I am Triveni. I am a research scholar at Department of Sociology, and I completed my master's in sociology from JNU and bachelor's in sociology from AUD Ambedkar University, Delhi. So once again, thank you. So let us go into the discussion. So the title of today's discussion is The Practice of Butchering and Cooking, Craft and Cuisine in Beef Practices of Madiga Community in Telangana. Diwakar, could you please change slide? Yeah. So for any living organism, food is essential component to sustain. And when it comes to human beings, food is not merely a biological process required for biological process. Rather, it plays a significant role in understanding social and cultural life. So to like food is also acts as an entry point to understand any social and cultural life of any community for that matter. And apart from understanding social and cultural life, it also structures social and power relations in the society. So let's say, for example, as we are discussing about beef, and so in Indian society especially, beef eaters are seen as untouchables in the caste hierarchy and within the Hindu social order. So uh, Gopal Guru argues that food is seen as a source of humiliation. So basically, like in Indian context, you see, like usually dominant sections of the society differentiate between food practices of both marginalized and dominant sections, and they use certain food practices of dominant sections to humiliate other sections of the society, though it is used as a tool to humiliate marginalized communities. But what the marginalized communities are doing is they're asserting their food practices, and they're using it as a source of assertion. Like Garlight, who worked in Usmania campus, uh, Garlight highlighted how students coming from Dalit communities, especially, are asserting their their food practices, especially beef, as a counter hegemonic to the dominant food practices. Uh, am I not audible?
You are
You are
You are
audible.
very.
audible.
You please go ahead.
Okay. So so these are the two ways that like existing literature talks about how food as a tool used to humiliate certain sections. However, there is a resistance from the marginalized communities through the food. So in the context of food as a assertion, we will be exploring how beef as a food practice forming the habitats of Dalit communities, and how over a period of time Dalit communities, especially Madhya community, developed certain unique skills in butchering and distribution of meat, and also varieties of beef items they are making in their daily life. Diwakar. So before entering into the discussion, let us contextualize how food is a part of culture, and how food is understood in the cultural anthropology. So basically, Clifford Geertz, one of the celebrated social anthropologists, he argues that culture is a complex web of social relations. So, it is a culture in which our social relations, so web of social relations are regulated. And E.B. Taylor, also one of the classical anthropologists, who brought, the culture as broader definition for the term culture. He argues that culture shapes our values, morals, arts, and habits acquired. So basically, it is a culture that helps to acquire certain habits, certain morals, certain artistic expressions that we get from culture. So these are the classical explanations of how culture determines one's own habits and one's own values and morals. And apart from them, Bourdieu is one of the most borrowed thinker in understanding food and culture. So our presentation is also based on Bourdieu's idea of habitus and taste. So in this book, distinction, Pierre Bourdieu's book Distinction, a social critique of the judgment of the taste, which was written in 1979. So basically, in this book, he argues that it is natural that it is natural that we assume that the taste one develops, it comes naturally for any individual. But he critiques that argument and says that any taste that we develop comes from the socio-economic conditions that we are there. So it is the social conditions actually which determines our develop the taste that we develop towards anything. Let's say certain sections of the community in Indian society prefer certain music, certain kind of artistic expressions, like they prefer certain kinds of paints. Let's say other section of the community like they tended towards one kind of other kinds of music instruments, or else other artistic expression. So that is how he argues that any individual's taste comes from one's own social condition, one's own socio-cultural situations that individual emerges from. And he also argues that it also acts as to create sense of distinction. So any community uses culture, like a taste that we develop, it is used by certain sections of the society to create a distinction from other groups. So any social group uses taste to distinguish themselves from other groups. So that is how Bourdieu uh, recognize the importance of any food practices that are developing from the our socio-economic social conditions basically. So overall, he argues that it is a socially originated taste, not a natural origin. And here he also argues that how individual choices in art, music, food, clothing, and leisure activities serve as a markers of social class, reinforcing existing hierarchies. So he argues that one's social position determines our taste, and that taste again reinforces existing social hierarchies. As we are talking like about beef, so since we are in the like our social position, like marginalized community social position, from that position we developed a taste, and then that taste reinforces and like restructures our so existing hierarchies. He also emphasizes that our food is he not just he, whatever the existing literature, it says that food is very much entrenched in our cultural practices, and it acts as a markers of distinction of one's class within society. Therefore by now it is evident that food food acts as a marker of distinction, and it also acts as a how one group distinguishes oneself from other groups. So based on that, now we are going to understand how food is the food and relations around food are structured within Indian social system, that is within a caste hierarchy. So let us understand about that caste and food in India. So historically, there are diverse food cultures in India. From Indus Valley civilization, it is evident that non-veg is a part and parcel of food habitus of India. Uh, like in Indus Valley civilization, it is a very evident that they consumed non-veg foods like fish. And for that matter, even before Indus Valley civilization, also human beings are very much dependent on animals for their food actually. And food in India is hierarchical. So like so it is, I mean, in everyday life we know that like vegetarians are placed in a superior position, and whereas non-vegetarians are downgraded. So it also comes from the Hindu social order we are in India. So in Hindu social order, um, vegetarians are placed in superior position, whereas non-vegetarians are looked down actually. So that is how food is. So while food is hierarchical, at the same time it is reflected in the social hierarchy. How so whoever eats vegetarian food, so they are placed in higher position like they are placed in a superior position. If you consume non-vegetarian food, you are placed in below in the hierarchy. And again within non-vegetarians also there is a hierarchy. So that is how food is hierarchical, and the people who consume such foods, they are also organized in a hierarchy. And Deepak argues that Brahmins have created three levels of food order. According to him, the food order that is created by Brahmins is Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. Sattvic includes vegetables and dairy and is restricted to elite classes, whereas Tamasic food includes beef and other garlic, and which are restricted to lower caste and untouchables. So it is very evident that how certain consumption of certain food items are very much you like acts as a marker of social class, as well as how consumption of certain food habits are also acts as a structuring of power relations within society. And coming to the scholars like Rajendra Lal Mitra also highlights that beef eating was very much practiced in ancient India. And along with him, if we look at the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's work on who are untouchables and why they become untouchables, he elaborately discussed about how there was a beef eating practices were there in ancient India, but why Brahmins so it was there among the Brahmin community also. How they gave up later on, and then how non-Brahmins gave up. Why Dalits continue to eat beef. So he did he explained very detailed in a detailed manner in his book. So both Rajendra Lal Mitra, though is a I mean, he is mentioned as a Bhadralok intelligence from Bengal. Uh, so in Kalyan Das argues that though he is a Bhadralok intelligence, but he highlights that there was a beef eating practice in ancient India, which was later drawn by Ambedkar also. So both were drawing a similar theory, I mean similar arguments that there was a beef eating practices in ancient India. Not only ancient India, but it is also there among Brahmins. However, it was later given up by Brahmins. Though they belong to these two scholars to different periods, but they come to conclusion that Brahmins gave up beef eating to establish their supremacy over Buddhism. So basically, he argues that it is due to the rapid expansion of Buddhism, Brahmins as they want to establish their supremacy in Indian subcontinent, they began to give up beef eating. And later, Ambedkar also argues that so beef giving up of beef eating is not just sufficient to establish supremacy in Indian society. Rather, you have to go to a certain extent. That is adoption of vegetarianism. So that is how they adopted vegetarianism, and they gave up beef eating and made cow as a sacred animal and beef eating as a sacrilege. And that is how Ambedkar argues that beef eating became a cause of untouchability. So that is the arguments of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was drawing upon. And he also highlighted why non-Brahmins gave up this beef eating. So likewise, earlier I said it was there in ancient India among all sections. However, after Brahmins gave up, non-Brahmins also gave up beef eating, because so his idea is that, drawing from Gabriel Tarde imitation theory, he highlights that where Tarde argues that in any sort of society it is it is possible, if not natural, it is possible that usually lower classes imitate higher classes. So, due to which non-Brahmins also, to imitate Brahmins, they gave up beef eating. However, uh, like other the Dalits continue to eat beef over a period of time, and based on that, Ambedkar divides society into three classes of the society. So those who eat those who are vegetarians, and within non-vegetarians, the people who eat flesh but not cow flesh, and the lower order of the group is those who eat flesh, also the flesh of cow. So that is how society is ordered. And so based on food eating practices, society is structured in such a way. So that is how Ambedkar argues how food as a entry point to understand hierarchy within the society. And now coming to subaltern perspectives, uh, likewise I told earlier also how it became like how why it became a significant part is, it is also because of economical value that Dalits have in their own life. Apart from cultural aspect, economically also they have very much value in their lives. So that is how they continued beef eating practices over a period of time, where Brahmins and non-Brahmins gave up eating of beef. So coming to subaltern perspectives, Gopal Guru detailed the significance of beef in Dalit communities in Maharashtra. So he argues that beef plays a very significant role in Dalit lives. He argues that it is used to play significant role in setting up of matrimonial alliances in Dalit communities. So he argues that like whoever has a substantial part of beef, they're they are chosen as a like they are given first preference to have matrimonial alliances within Dalit communities. So that is how it's not just that beef not just part of food habits, it also has economical value and other cultural values, such as setting up of matrimonial alliances. And he also argues that though people gave up eating of dead cattle but continue to eat fresh meat as part of their taste. So uh, Dalits continue to eating beef because they are forced to remove the dead carcasses within the villages. So historically, like they are forced to remove such carcasses, and because of which they are forced to eat such meat uh, to ensure that they have protein. However, over a period of time, what happened? They gave up eating dead cattle. Despite the fact that they gave up eating dead cattle, but their taste, which was developed over a generations, continued, and they continue to have this taste towards beef, which was developed out of certain generations of a period. And apart from Gopal Guru, Kalyan Das also highlighted that beef eating is important in the subject formation. It's not just that part of culture, part of economic value, part of matrimonial alliances. It also plays a significant role in the formation of identity itself, because it is very much entrenched into the lives of Dalits, because of which it also plays a significant role in the formation of subject formation and construction of social identities in Bengal. So basically, in his article, he explores how Dalit and other Muslim communities coming together due to their shared food habits to form a coalition in politics as well due to their shared food practices. So that is how beef is also playing a role in the construction of identities in Bengal. And coming to other scholar Kancha Elaya in his book Why I Am Not a Hindu also highlights that food practices of Dalits and Shudras drastically vary from those of upper caste Hindus. So in his book Why I Am Not a Hindu, if we read he differentiates between the various practices of different lifestyles that compares and contrasts between both the upper caste Hindus and Shudras and Dalits. So their lifestyles and the gender relations and food practices, the deities, goddesses that they worship completely different. In the text, he also argues that food practices completely differs from whatever upper caste Hindus eat and what Dalits and Shudras eat. And in the recent, so basically this is a significance of the beef that it's not essentializing, but still it has a very significant role culturally also. So we have to look at the from the perspective of its significance rather than looking at it as a essentializing thing. So in recent times the current regime has been imposing various bans, like wherever their government is wherever they enter into the government, they have been using the article 48 and imposing beef bans without giving much consideration to the cultural significance it has in the lives of Dalits and Muslims and Christians and other various marginalized communities. They have been banning this and they're weaponizing article 48. So in that context, Kancha Elaya argues that beef is a part of civil and democratic rights of the community, and no caste or community have authority to ban food habits of other communities or castes. And he also argues that banning beef marks the beginning of end of India's multicultural society. So from the likewise, I told, from Indus Valley civilization, and for that matter, from the beginning of humans itself, the living itself, it is very evident that we have been depending upon animals. But um, but what is happening is there have been bans. So when ban on certain kinds of foods, so banning such kind of foods, it is a marking the beginning of the end of multicultural society. So India is historically multicultural society, and it is a society where it accommodates people from different communities, whether it is a religious or various different kinds of ethnic communities or else different castes. It is a multicultural society. So when one community starts imposing ideas and one uh, imposing food habits of one community or other, it's the end of India's multicultural society itself. It's not just that you I mean, so it's the other way of perpetuating and reproducing social inequalities and existing hierarchies within the society. So that is how he argues that it is the end of India's multicultural society when one community imposes uh, food practices of its own over other. So likewise, I argued the current context, current contemporary politics around beef. Um, Likewise, I already highlighted the current regime entered into in its ruling states have been imposing beef, citing constitutional provisions like Article 48. So, in most of the states where it is a ruling, they have been brought bans on beef, weaponizing Article 48, saying that the slaughter of cattle is slaughter of cattle is banned. But um, to to what extent it is justified from is a question, because any community has its own develops its own taste towards food, right? Likewise, I we have been I have been telling, it comes from generations of over a generations we develop certain tastes. So it comes from that. So without giving much consideration to the cultural and social values of the communities, imposing such ban, and in the name of cow slaughter and all, using it as to weaponize their Hindutva politics is a in the question. So that we which we have to raise a question. And like again coming to Kancha, he also argues that imposition of it is banning beef is imposition of cultural hegemony of upper caste Hindus over Dalits, Christians, and Muslims. So likewise, I have been telling it's a very important how important it is in the lives of these communities. It's not just in terms of food habits, rather it is also important as a part of their livelihoods. So though it is using such provisions, butchering beef is a part of livelihoods of some communities like Muslims, and beef eating is a part and parcel of many marginalized communities. So it is very much part of livelihoods as well. It's not just that eating, I mean, having food like food practices, rather, it is very much embedded. So basically, it is very much embedded, which we cannot take out from the lives of those communities. So, as a part of protests such against such bans and to counter hegemonic imposed food cultures like vegetarianism, Dalit communities have been asserting beef as intricately linked to their food habits. So, likewise, if we read James Scott, he argues like how everyday marginalized communities, though they may not resist at larger level, but everyday resistance. So that is how they resist structures. Jane Scott argues that from drawing from that, we can argue that how people from Dalit communities are challenging hegemonic practices that are imposed on Dalit communities. So how they're challenging is, for example, one study shows that Dalits like Parayar community depolluted themselves by re-evaluating symbols like a drum and beef, which are the sources of their pollution. So Hindu social order imposed and made that the items which are related to drum and beef are polluted. So these are polluted things. But what the Parayar community was is doing is that they depolluted themselves, and they made sure that these are not symbols of pollution, rather they are very much part of our lives, and they evaluated and they're taking pride in these symbols and discarded dominant narratives around beef. So that is how marginalized communities are resisting through every day. And other way of resisting these hegemonic practices is beef festivals in university campuses. So in university, I mean, if we look at the literature and higher education also, university campus, even still now, it is largely dominated by the students coming from dominant caste. So however, like a post 1990s with the Mandal Commission and other Dalit movements, universities we can see the coming of students from marginalized communities to the university spaces. Though they're coming to the university spaces, but what has been observed is it is like whatever the food practices they have there at homes, they're completely absent in university spaces. So considering options of their food items led to the assertion of their food habits, and to counter hegemonic food habits in university spaces. In campus beef festivals as organized as a counter hegemonic assertion of marginalized communities. So basically it is used as a counter hegemonic assertion to the dominant food habits and food practices that are prevail in university campuses. Garlight looked at some of the bee festivals are conducted in Usmania campus and also in IFLU. So Garlight analyzed how bee festivals are organized through which Dalit communities are imagining the future of anti-caste. So these kinds of festivals are not just merely countering the dominant hegemonic practices of food habits, rather they're also imagining the anti-caste and casteless society in the future. So that is how they are imagining utopia of casteless society. Even when students from Dalit communities go to universities where it is not found in canteens, it feels like alienation for them due to lack of recognition of their food habits in university spaces. So, due to which universities like Usmania and IFLO organized beef festivals to highlight the significance of beef in everyday food practices and part of their culture. And Gundumeda Sambaya, he also writes about how Dalit students in Hyderabad Central University set up a beef stall in cultural festival called Sukun, which takes place for 3 days in public space to reject any culture that injures their agency. So in Hyderabad Central University, usually there is a festival called Sukun, which is organized for 3 days. So there will be stalls of various food items. So earlier there is no such kind of stall which sells beef. However, over a period of time, Dalit students asserted themselves in public spaces and claimed public spaces by keeping beef stalls in university spaces, festivals like Sukun. As of now, we discussed about the significance of beef in Dalit communities and contemporary politics around surrounding that, and how beef as always seen as a from the communal tension perspective, rather than like how the significance of it in marginalized communities. Rather, it always seen as a something which provokes communal tensions in Indian society. Uh, Departing from that, so there are so much of literature on that. So departing from that, our study is looking at the unique skills of Madiga community in butchering process. So Madiga community is a scheduled caste community in Telangana. So they are present in both Telangana and Andhra Pradesh and some pockets of Karnataka as well. Traditionally, they are treated as untouchables due to their association with the leather work and their food eating practices like beef. So, basically, in Telangana society, there is this. For that matter, any village society in in Indian context, there is a Jajmani system. Specifically in Telangana, it is like a Dora system of Dora, where most of these communities from marginalized communities service caste pay service to the dominant caste. In turn, these caste pays grains or others, and they provide other services which are required for these communities. So that is Jajmani system existed, and Madhya community is a part of the was part of this Jajmani system, and their work was tanning and leather work. So the dead cattle were given to them by the cultivators. So basically, farmers, um, dominant caste basically, and in return they have to make sure that they give chapels to the cultivators. So that is how there is an exchange of services between dominant caste and service caste in Telangana society. However, most of them gave up due to stigma attached to leather work in Hindu social order, and additionally, emergence of mission-made footwear brands from other multinational companies also further forced them to give up this occupation, as it does not yield any result for them. So that is how, so most of them are not engaging in their occupations due to the stigma that is attached to them, and also it is because of significance of education, recognized significance of education among them, and education and jobs for the social mobility as well. Though their occupation is lost, beef related food practices continue, and it became part and parcel of their life actually. So occupation is given up, but the food which is though which is I mean seen as a polluted, which is seen as a lower grade of food, but it was reclaimed by these communities. We can see how this food as it is food taste that is developed over a generations is not given up by the community, rather they have been continuing with this. For example, likewise, I told about beef festivals that have been organized in the campus. So one of the student activist NS Chamar from Usmania University, he wrote a beef anthem. He is also from Madiga community. So that is how it became part, entrenched into their lives actually. So it entrenched into their habitus taste, considering its significance. How, as a part of their habitus, people from these communities developed skills of butchering and make varieties of beef items with both dried and wet meat. So they developed varieties of, over a period of time, they only created different types of food items, considering its significance and availability of meat in their lives. So now, Diwakar will take up and further talk about gap and findings of the study. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Triveni. Yeah, from here I will be taking on. So the main purpose, the research gap of this paper would be like existing studies basically focus on beef consumption and identity formation, and also historical trajectory of the beef consumption in Indian society, and from ancient time to the modern times, and also how untouchability has been originated from consumption of beef in Indian society, in the Hindu caste system particularly. So that is how it was there. So whenever we think of the aspect of butchering, mainly the Muslim community is highly discussed and even largely portrayed in all the Tollywood, particular especially in Tollywood movies. Whenever the aspect of butchering comes up, Muslim communities are largely portrayed in the movies. But members of Madiga community in Telangana have been historically involved in this butchering work, butchering and tanning. Like Madiga communities, traditional occupation itself is of tanning of skin and making chappal and drums out of it. But their butchering of beef skills have been largely gone unrecognized because of various factors. And though their dappu making skills, their traditional occupation of making dappu and chappals have been highly revered, their butchering skills and unique varieties of beef culinary practices have not been studied extensively. So this is where our research gap comes into. Uh, so methodologically, we have used a qualitative methodological approach. Like this particular case study is a butchering process by Madiga community in Khammam, Telangana. This particular case is conducted in the December month of 2025 during the Christmas season, particularly. So we have conducted non-participant observation of on the day of butchering, along with constructed interviews with the community members who were actually involved in the butchering process, and also participant observation of the cooking process that have been taking place on the same day of the butchering, and also same day and the next few days of the butchering, and also so we have conducted few semi-structured interviews with the women of the community to understand various kinds of culinary items, various kinds of culinary practices that take place in the Dalit kitchens actually. Coming to butchering process. So before the butchering process, what happens is few people of the community who are involved in this butchering process and things go to the nearby market and they select a proper cattle either. So during the selection of the cattle, what happens is they select a cattle which has good amount of meat and also which is not which cannot be used for rearing purposes, so that they don't have this feeling of guilty that using cattle which is you actually useful for this farming process and these things. So they buy a cattle and they bring it like 2 3 days before the butchering process starts, and also they start rearing it for a few more days to make it healthy and everything. So the particular butchering process started on the day of the festival at around like they start this process in the midnight itself at around 12 a.m. so that they can accommodate the customers that will be coming from the early morning at 6 or something. They invite a Muslim butcher. So here the community relations actually uh, community relations uh, involve how the Dalit and Muslim communities coincide, how Dalit and Muslim communities come together. 1 minute, sorry. Yeah. Dalit and Muslim communities come together in involving in this butchering process. So the Muslim butcher who has a shop, a butchering shop in the locality, will be invited by the members of the Dalit community, Madhya community people, and this Muslim butcher performs the initial slaughter to ensure that is halal. And also, like most of the Madhya community members who are involved in this butchering process are elderly community members. So it say they bring up a Muslim butcher who is young so that he can help in the whole butchering process. So the initial butcher happens, and then a large chunk of meat is taken separately for a Muslim butcher who has involved in the butcher. This is locally called halal kanda. Halal kanda means a chunk of meat basically. So this is taken as and given it to the Muslim butcher. And other than this, cash is also given, but traditionally they are being given this halal kanda. So then the tanning of the skin process starts actually. Historically, Madhya community has been involved in this skinning process, though previously there used to be larger demand for leather and these things, but after LPG reforms and due to stigma and various reasons, Madhya community people have largely Madhya community people have largely stopped making chappals or making tappus. So they mainly after the skinning process is done, they generally throw off the skin or they give it to some person, some local consumer for very less cost. So previously they used to get good amount of money for the skin, but right now they get around to 1,500 to 2,000 for the skin actually. So now the actual process happens. So after they do this on a proper mat that is made up of rice bags. So they after this skinning thing happens, they start chopping off the separating the pieces of the carcass actually. So they use axes to separate legs from the body of the cattle, and they then are separate head, they separate tail, and the middle part of the body separated accordingly. So then separated accordingly, and this is very physically demanding work actually. So as people are very old, so they in between this work they basically consume some alcohol to get relief from this pain of butchering process. And also there are also joking relationships involved in this butchering process. They make fun of each other, they make fun of the kids around, so these things also happen. So this then they make these meat into small chunks, and they separate the ribs, they separate the meat, and everything is separated. So this whole animal is separated into five parts. First is like fat is separated. Stomach is fat is locally called kovulu is separated. Stomach is potta, meta potta they call it. That is also separated. Intestines, pegula or boti, as you know, that is also separated. Liver is separated, and lungs are also separated, and uh, lungs are also separated. So these are properly cleaned, and everything is utilized. So initial separation happens here. Initial separation is they separate the fat, stomach, intestines, liver, and lungs, and they make five different piles of these meat. The later on the segmentation actually happens. So what they does is whoever so they make 65 equal. So for that particular cattle that they have bought, the particular cattle that they have made. So this division of basically division of this meat happens accordingly of the amount they spend on the cattle actually. So if they are expecting some 5,000 or 10,000 return, so if they have paid 50,000 for the cattle and they are expecting some 10 to 15,000 return, so then they start like they do this piles of meat accordingly. So meat is shared into is 65 equal piles at this particular. So this pile is called pogu. At some places it is called pogu, and it is also called kuppa. kuppa or povu, and this is done by hand. So after 5 piles of stomach, this stomach, liver, intestines, lungs, and these things happen. Now they start making 65 equal piles of all the meat involved. So I'm sorry, like, so bones are also separated. So the Muslim butcher that was there, he started separating the bones from the separating meat from the ribs, and separating the bones. So bones are separated into two different bones: soft bones and hard bones. So soft bones are separated into one pile, and hard bones are separated into one pile. So this is how the separation thing happens. Then they start making the equal piles, and so they started putting. They take put a big mat on the floor, and they start putting piles accordingly. They pile it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they put 65 piles. So they start putting. They started with the liver. First, they put all the 65 pieces of piles, and then after they put fat parts of the fat parts of the meat, and they put the bones. They take a handful of bones, soft bones, and handful of hard bones, and put them accordingly on the meat, and they put a handful of some handful of intestines on the meat, and this main prime meat is also taken. Prime meat is also made into two piles of large piles of meat. So that is also at the last, that is taken, and that is put into all the 65 piles basically. So this is how this distribution of meat happens, and there is it is interesting that there is no weighing scales are never used in this process of distribution or segmentation. So whenever we see in normal butcher shops or chicken shops, they generally use proper weighing scales, relying on weighing scales to calculate the amount of money and also the weight of the meat. But here, everything is on the experience of the butcher. Butcher just butcher, all the community people just look at the piles of meat, and they say that this has less meat, this has more meat. So they adjust it accordingly so that everyone gets an equal share of the meat. So like the current price they sell, that previously they used to sell for each pile for 500 rupees, but now as the prices have been regularly being increased, so they started selling the meat for like 1,000 rupees, 1,000 rupees, around 1,000 rupees. But if there are people who cannot afford these meat for 1,000 rupees, they ensure that they take time, and they chop the one pile of 1,000 rupees meat into two separate parts to accommodate the people who cannot, to accommodate the customers who doesn't have budget. So this is how it is there, and also, and this is how it is there, and also blood is also an important part of this beef consumption actually. So after the chopping of the cattle, what they do is they take a big basin, and pour out the blood, all the blood into the basin. So after some period of time, what happens is the blood gets hardened. So blood is not added into the piles of meat, but whenever people come to take buy the meat, so if they are like, if they want to, they can take the chunks of blood from the basin, and they can go without any extra cost. So that is how blood actually plays. And so blood is also used to make curry. Blood After the blood is hardened, it is chopped into very small piece, and it is also made to use curry. So this is how it is there. And also there's few customers also order it by phone, like particularly upper caste customers. So they feel stigma, like, as we know that beef consumption itself is stigmatized in this Indian society. So they order it through phone. I have asked one of the sorry, I have seen a kid from the community going taking two covers outside the house. So I asked him why, and he told that he has to deliver it to the upper caste Reddy's house. So I have also accompanied him there. The kid was not allowed to enter into the house. Like, the Reddy itself came outside the house. He gave it on the cover has been handed over to him on the road, and he left inside. they came here. So that is how caste relations also there. So though upper caste also consume beef, that it is hidden. Basically, they don't openly consume it. That thing is there. And the cultural and social dynamics is like so basically what happens is whenever beef butchering or butchering, these things are considered as violence. In Indian society, we see butchering or cutting off hen's head. So in many families, what happens is young generation of people will be taken away. Like they will ask to not look at the butchering that is happening or not look at the head that is getting cut off. But here, when the butchering the process was happening, many children were sitting near the process that was happening, and they were continuously watching the whole process. So there is no say avoidance from this. Like there is nothing, no kind of uh, averence from these kind of practices, but they actively engage in this. They talk with their community members and they integrate the practice into their cultural identity. So they get to know this is our identity from the childhood itself. So this process happens. But the thing is, upwardly mobile families sometimes stop eating beef due to unscientific myths. There are many myths around the beef that have been going around that the beef impacts brain activity or speech. So many upwardly mobile Dalit families stop consuming beef, but sometimes they consume beef, but they consume it very secretly. So that thing is also there. So this aspect is there. So after after the whole meat is sold out. I have to the I was at the present at the butcher's family house. So this whole butchering process took place at the family of the person who bought the meat. So who bought the cattle actually. So I went there. I have been with them. So after the sale, the entire family collaborates to chop the remaining meat for household. So whoever was involved in the butchering process, so everyone takes one pile of the meat for themselves, one or two piles accordingly. Based on the profits they have received and based on the meat that is left, they take 1 to 2 piles accordingly, and they start chopping immediately after without wasting any time. So look at how hectic this task is. Like they start around 12 in the 12 11:30 12 in the midnight, and they continue this work till everything is sold out, and they continue this work till after post that also to make preparations for the how for a household consumption. So there is this continuous work of around 8 to 9 hours continuous work that has been involved in this process. So from men are involved in this process, but later on women are also involved in this. Later on, for household work, the women are involved in this process. So for household thing, what happens is for making of. So there are three aspects in this. One is making of curry. Curry is prepared for one aspect. Then two different. One is meat is separated for one pile is for curry, one pile is for future storage. So this process takes place. So meat is cut into very small pieces, very small pieces. So I have the family I was with. So the elder person, his name was elder person. He basically sat there, and his daughter-in-law also sat with him. They started cutting the meat into smaller pieces. So one was cutting pieces for the curry into smaller pieces. One was cutting pieces into larger thin strands of meat. Like they are around this size. So I asked them why. So this happens. So the smaller chunks are for curry. The larger chunks are drying of the meat. So dry meat plays an important part in the Dalit food culture, actually, in particularly in Telangana Dalit food culture, in Telangana Madiga food culture. Dry meat plays an important. I'll be touching upon that later after a few minutes. So small pieces are cut into, and unlike Western style. So in Western uh, food habits. Basically, what we see is fat are bones are not much consumed. Fat is not much consumed, and meat is basically not mixed with bones and fat. They have Western cultures generally have uh, what do we say? Steaks. They have steaks. They have steaks of all kinds. They separate meat into different parts of the body of cattle, and they eat each steak separately. But when it comes to Dalit culture, generally in Indian culture also, meat is generally cooked together. In particularly in Dalit culture, bones, fat, and meat, all the things are mixed together and cooked in a single pot. So that is how they make the curry, single curry to enhance flavor. So bones and fat play a major part in the Dalit food. This beef curry of at Dalit places. So bones play a major part. The bones, they believe that it enhances the flavor of the curry actually. So the curries, I have observed this making of the curry. They put too much oil, for for the curry, so that the parts of the meat are properly cooked. So they put turmeric, they have put high amounts of chili powder, so that like the people of South generally consume a high chili powder. So they use high chili powder, salt, and everything is put in. Salt is put in. Salt, they use salt for initially. They use salt to so that uh, water from the meat is brought out, so that no separate water has to be put in to cook the meat. But after the meat is cooked for a few minutes, and like it is mediumly cooked. So what they do is they add three to four glasses of water. So I asked why water is being added into the meat. So they said that like as household contains like 6 to 10 members, many households in that village contained more than 6 members and less than 10 members in the household. So to accommodate everyone, to accommodate everyone, more water is added so that they get more gravy, so that it can be consumed for two times in a day, or maybe that for the next morning also. So more small pieces are added, so that each whenever they take a small bite of rice with them, so they take the small piece of meat and they put it in the rice, and then they consume it. So that is how it is. So that's the reason. One reason for cutting into small pieces is for making cooking easier. The another reason for is for having meat in uh, uh, every piece of food that they take into. So this is how cooking happens. So more water is added for gravy. Then the other second part is the meat is sliced into long strands. So long strands are dried for 2 to 3 days. The long strands are around this size, and they are dried in the sun for 2 to 3 days, so that all the moisture in the strands goes out. So these are locally called tunakalu in local language. So what happens is these are dried for 2 to 3 days, and they are stored in plastic containers for future purposes. So this historical preservation has its own significance. Basically, Dalits used to not used to have proper protein sources during pre-independence period, and forced to take out the dead carcasses of the cattle from village to outskirts of the village. So due to this, what happens is, so whenever they get this chance of having meat, they have evolved this practice of preserving meat by drying it out, so that they can preserve it for the future purposes. So these tunakalu are basically dried meat which are used in every curry. Like it is not like they use it for specific curries, but any curry that you make it, they put a few chunks of these pieces into the curry, and that's it. So this is, however, how you add salt, how you add chili powder, how you add garlic and everything. These tunakal are also added into the curry, so to enhance the taste, or else these are also dried directly on the coal and eaten. So this aspect is also there. So bones consumption, and also bones consumption is one of the important aspect in the Dalit food culture, actually, particularly in the beef swimming as practices. So bones So these bone consumption happening in the afternoon, they have this curry and these things. In the evening, they take out the bones of all the take out the bones of the meat, and these bones are put into a proper bowl, and they put some water in that, and they close it. Uh, they boil it for like at least 45 minutes because these bones are very hard. They boil it for at least 30 to 45 minutes under the coal stove, and then they are taken out and they are cracked, and the inside bone marrow, which is called moliga locally, that is taken out and it is fed to children and also adults. For it, they believe that it has very high nutritional value. And the head part of the beef also is consumed uh, the waste in the waste part matlab the things that are not consumed, like the eyes or the teeth are being removed. They will remove the eyes and teeth, and then they will carefully cut the meat part that is present in the head. So that is also that head part of the meat is particularly shared into 4 to 5 piles, and that is shared among the people involved in the butchering process. That is one thing. And legs are the one other important part of this. Initially, I told you that the four legs have been separated, so the four legs will be kept aside. So what they do is the legs, they call it gerakalu locally, and they are like burnt after maybe the next day of the butchering process. What they do is they burn these two legs on the coal to soften the hooves. If this is the whole leg, this is the hoof. This gets softened. So this gets softened after burning, and this hoof is removed from that process. And these hooves are removed, and it is cut into middle part so that it can be separated, and it is dried in the sun for at least 12 hours. And eventually, like they take it out and chop it into small pieces, and they pressure cook the meat. So because as the leg part is very hard, they pressure cook it so that it becomes very soft, and they generally make the uh, curry uh, curry by adding all the ingredients into it. So this is how like the consumption from the consumption of from nose to tail happens in the Dalit community process. So other than eyes, other than teeth, no part of the even tail is consumed. Tail is consumed by some people. Tail, basically the skin is taken out of the tail, and that is also properly chopped and cooked into a curry. So nose to tail consumption of the beef that happens in these Dalit communities is very important. And it is not that as in the Western cultures where you separate each part of the beef into different parts and consume it, but it is more of a mixing of all the meat into one single bowl and making a curry. So this is one important aspect of the Dalit the beef consumption of Madiga community. So as I conclude, so beef butchering and consuming is an important part of Dalit food culture. However, like Dalit communities, though they have been historically been consuming beef, they are uh, historically been involved in making dapu, historically been involved in tanning, skinning of the meat, cattle. But the Madhya community has failed or did not succeed in commercializing this skill as done by the Muslim community due to various social and economic factors. We rarely see Madhya community involved in having a shop of butchering, having beef butchering shops. So this can be social economic is one aspect of this because of their stigma attached to their work and because of the social position of them in the Hindu caste system. They are afraid of putting up butcher shops, and also factors they are economic factors also play an important role in not having these butcher shops or by Madigas. And these various ways of preparing of meat is prepared and cooked is unique part of the Dalit food culture. So these studies like these are important because younger generation of the community has been disowning their work due to stigmatization and better gaining better class position in the society. So whoever the persons that I was talking to, the involved people, they were all old. So younger generation of the people are not being involved in this butchering process because of the stigmatization or because of gaining better class position and moving to the city. So these are the so as a researcher, it becomes important for us to study these unexplored aspects of culture, unexplored, undocumented aspects of culture, which have been historically neglected, isolated, and historically stigmatized. So so as a researcher, it is important for us to understand, document these unexplored aspects of culture, particularly that is food cultures. That are involved in this, and beef consumption is still continuing in the community, and now it has also become a symbol of assertion. So previously it used to be a symbol of, particularly the younger generations have started asserting this beef consumption, but the work is being faded out due to various factors. So by this I conclude my presentation. I sincerely thank Professor Chandraya Anna and also Dr. Anand Kumar for giving me this opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Diwakar and Triveni, for presenting very detailed of, process of butchering and cooking with the theoretical backgrounds. So I feel it's very detailed and very minute details are presented. So now the discussion, it is presentation is for discussion. So anybody can unmute directly and ask questions, uh, clarifications, queries, or you can message directly to speakers so that they can respond. So it is open to everyone. Yeah.
So I think Diwakar and Triveni have presented very detailed presentations, and they have covered up all the questions that might be raised in these presentations, and that is why the audience is quite set. So I'm happy to see this detailed presentations, but I do have certain questions in my mind. So I was thinking if there is any question from audience side, then we can take up. Otherwise, I'll go with this with my questions. No questions sir, from the audience. Wow.
Anand,
Yeah,
JB
please.
I am Sai Kumar, currently pursuing PhD in Delhi University. First of all, I would like to congratulate Professor Chandraya Gopani Anna and Dr. Anand Kumar, and also the presenters, Diwakar and Triveni. It is really a detailed documentation of the butchering and cooking of the food. Though we belong we belong to the community, gradually when we see from our childhood to now, it has transformed a lot. The butchering or the cooking, slowly it is like disappearing in the villages because of the stigma, people attaching to it, or the people migrating, or when it are thinking about the conversations happening among the friends whenever people entered into schools or the communities, moving freely in the communities. When the both the scholars mentioned about taste and assertion in the community, how do you my question is to both the scholars, how do you how do you people see that taste assertion, is that really that taste? Yes, people say that because of taste are they are eating, some people say, and because of its nutritional value they are eating, people will say, because of its unavailability, protein unavailability in other, like they cannot afford to other meat, so they are eating. So are you, like when you are like going and documenting it, Did you ask the people, are you people owning it, that owning its culture, its uniqueness, and asserting and telling, are you people able to freely express your passion or your cultural significance with the beef eating or like that butchering and cooking process? Could you people comment on it? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anna Sayana, for your question. The assertion part that we were looking about is particularly comes from the city aspect or university spaces aspect that Triveni has presented. So the particular site that we have visited and that we have talked to, so there is this stigma still attached to it of consumption of beef, and so they don't inside the village. This aspect is there definitely. Like they assert that they consume beef, they consume meat and everything. But when they move out of the village, this assertion definitely changes when they move into. Even if as us we come to at homes, we consume beef. Maybe we consume beef, and we without any fear we consume beef. But when we move into university spaces or modern cities, when this question of we face this question every time: do you consume meat? Do you consume beef? And so when we move into these places, the assertion aspect definitely changes. Like there is this ambiguity of accepting or accepting this eating of beef, or not accepting this eating of meat. So that is there. For the respondents, though, they have said that when in the village they don't so historically it has been consumed. So because of the taste and because of the cultural aspect, they are consuming the beef. And also they believe that it has, as a scientific studies also proven, that they also believe that it has good protein sources. Historically, that has been the protein source for the community, so they have been consuming it. But right now, that has also been fading away as chicken meat has become more cheaper than chicken meat, and has become cheaper, and also it is like equal to beef price. So that aspect is there. So in the village setting, they feel asserted. They feel they do not feel any aversion towards this consumption of meat. But when they go out to other places, so during that time they might feel this aversion or uh, this say uh, uh, aversion, or maybe not accepting that they consume beef. So this aspect, I think I have answered. Maybe Triveni can add up.
Okay, Diwakar, thank you.
Anybody?
Hello, my name is Devashish. I want to know some thoughts to speakers. So I'm a history student, and during my reading, I find one instance where in colonial North India, particularly United Province, modern UP, in Kanpur district, we find that during 1920s and 30s, there was some communalization happened, and in the form of butcherers, where we find that Muslim butcherers were a prominent community who were involved in butchering in Kanpur district, and where we find that Hindu Mahasabha uh, prepared Khatik Butcherer, one of the scheduled caste, to communalize the economy of butchering. So what happened was Khatiks were in contestation between Muslim butchers. And in recent times, we see the debates of jhatka meat and halal meat. So I want to know your thoughts about this thing, how communalization between binary between Hindu and Muslims and butcherers were the site of contestation. How, or in your study, have you find some scenario or conditions or phenomena where these communalization or binary have been constructed or created? Thank you so much.
No, at our side though, we didn't find any this sort of community tensions that are happening between the communities. Uh, the thing is like mostly the community, Madhya community that is involved here is uh, uh, so they are like they have good relations with the and also the Madhya community that is the place where we have talked are basically Dalit Christians. So they are the Dalit Christians. Uh, so they are involved in this process of, like they are SCs, the Dalit Christians. They are involved in this process of butchering. So they at our place though, like at the place where we have done the field work, there is no this sort of communal tension. The village we have done where there is no this sort of communal tension, but like there is harmony between the communities, Hindus and Muslims particularly, and also like Muslims also come to Dalit houses, upper caste also come to Dalit houses. So these aspects is also we didn't find any aspect of um, uh, communal tensions between the communities. This is very interesting thing that you have told us. Like we'll definitely try to look into it. Thank you so much.
I want to respond so if both communities, if it is a commercialized or if it is looked at from economic perspective, then there may be chances. But here, though, it's a completely monopolized. So basically, it's situated in village. So usually in villages, I mean, especially in Telangana, usually there would be harmonious relationship between two communities, Muslims and Hindus. It's not that antagonized. And also, if there is a competition between these two communities, there could be chance. But whatever we have, looked at, whatever we have observed from that, we can see that there is not much of. It's not such a site of contestation as such. Yeah, that though it's not
Yeah,
there.
this point is true actually. So the Madhya community that is involved in this work is they don't do it every day or every Sunday or something. They particularly do like initially they used to do it every Sunday these things, but now particularly they do it on the specific festival days or some specific days only, like whenever they like to do it. So Muslim butcher shops they operate every day, but to Dalit households these butchering happens once in a while. So there is no much contestation between their economic aspect. So I think that be one of the reason why there is no aversion between these two communities, and also there is no involvement of this communal aspect in this between these.
Adding one more layer into it, when Devasis was asking you about this dynamics of Jhatka and halal things, could you briefly mention something related to this? What is your observation regarding this?
Uh, can you repeat that word apart from halal? What is that other word? Chatka.
In local vernacular Hindi, we call Jhatka, or it is very common among the Dalit families that there are some families among the Dalits who are not, means they are consuming the beef, they are consuming non-veg things, but they do not prefer to use Jhatka meat, but they can go with this halal one.
I don't think like we don't have that kind of variation here. I think I asked them, but there is no variation of this Jetka and halal. So initially, like previously, this slaughtering also has been done by community people itself. But it has been evolved, and now it like Muslim butchers are being called off, and this halal process is being done. I don't think there is a separate term for the butchering that happens from the Dalit community. There is no separation between these. We don't have that separate name for that thing.
Okay. So when you're talking about this Muslim community's butchering process, I must say that they are somehow practicing this halal thing. But among Dalits and other
Yeah.
non-Muslim communities, they don't have this halal. So first of all, I must say thanks to both the speakers. It's been really amazing presentations. I'm quite surprised to hear about the detailed process, even the counting of the piles. That 65 piles are there in the process of butcherings. So I was a bit means thinking, how is it means it is something very scientifically you have presented. But in my place, there are butchering process, but I haven't come across any such kind of detailed process along with this number-wise piles and all things. So it is good. So I do have certain questions, rather some sort of discussion, let us say. When Triveni was raising the point that there is hierarchy within the non-veg things, the non-veg eaters. So what kind of hierarchy is that? I just want to hear that. Second is when you are speaking that the reddies don't opt for going to the butchering site, rather they opt for home delivery process. What is the factor behind, and why they are not, means they are somehow involved into, or they are liking beef eating, but at the same time they are doing all these things stealthily. That is a quite important thing to know. And third, when you are raising the point that the kids among the Dalits families are quite aware, and they are means watching the things from the very beginning. So they don't have any kind of psychological uh, uh, disharmony or some psychological cacophony. But if we go by psychological inputs, so there are speakers, or there are scholars who are speaking that the children should be avoided to look at all these kind of means violent or bloody things. And they have certain kind of supporting argument in terms of that it lead to the very bad impact in their psyche. So all these things in my mind. And one more thing, that is, when you speak in your finding that this beef consumption is a some sort of symbolic assertion or symbol of assertions, but at the same time you are raising the point that the younger generations, the they are somehow means quitting this beef consumption, or they are not able to accept that they are consuming these things openly. So how to look into this dynamics? So these are some things, if you can address few, it will be great. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you for your question. So when I'm talking about hierarchy within non-vegetarian foods, I'm drawing it from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's argument that so he says that there are three kinds of classes in the society which are organized. So one is vegetarians and other is non-veg. So there are two classes basically, one vegetarians and other non-vegetarians. And within non-vegetarians, one class is that which consumes flesh of animals but not beef, not flesh of animals. And other classes, they consume flesh of other animals that other non-vegetarians consume, as well as flesh of cow. So that is how there are these three classes. Even within so basically within Telangana, so there are these three classes as well. So despite the fact that the dominant castes are there, they consume obviously a non-veg because they fall under the class of non-Brahmins. So if you take the classification of Ambedkar himself, there are three classes: Brahmins, non-Brahmins, and other is Dalit communities. So non-Brahmins eat non-veg but not beef. So that is a hierarchy. That is why they come under the middle. So they are middle caste because they are not consuming beef. And the lower caste group, that is Dalit communities, they consume both beef as well as other meat. So that is how, like, when I said food is a high, I mean, food produces hierarchy. Drawing from Ambedkar, it is that is the hierarchy that I am mentioning about. So Brahmins consuming vegetarian, non-Brahmins consuming vegetarian food, Brahmins, non-Brahmins non-vegetarian food but not beef. Dalit communities consuming beef as well as flesh of other meat. So that is the.
So Triveni is a very subtle or very elaborative answer you have put. I'm thankful to you, but still I just want to know: is there any kind of hierarchy that you found in terms of the meat patterns? How they means hierarchy, something like their flesh that are considered as very elite or the very means good meat, but at the same there's some part of the same animal which is considered as means non-edible, or communities dislike those things. So is there any kind of
Yeah,
hierarchy regarding this?
that thing is there actually. So in upper caste households, even when it comes to chicken or even when it comes to goat, these parts are not consumed. Maybe legs. In Dalit communities, in the lower caste communities, chicken legs are highly consumed. They make it into soup, or they burn it on the coal fire and they consume it directly. So this is that they directly put that into the food also, curry and eat. But the upper caste meat consumption doesn't contain these things. These legs parts and also head part. Hence, head is also not very much consumed by the upper caste households. But when it comes to particularly the marginalized communities, they take the head part, they remove the feathers of the head, they burn it directly on the coal fire and they consume it. So there is hierarchy in the parts of the meat that is consumed also. That is there, yes.
Yes, so apart from beef, in OBC communities in Telangana society, so when they cut even goat or sheep also, there is a hierarchy even within that also. So there are certain parts which dominant castes in villages don't accept. For example, let's say head of the goat, head of the sheep. So when certain village festivals takes place, usually people from these service cars usually cut the parts of goat or sheep in front of the goddess. So what certain parts of the meat, so basically body parts are taken away by the dominant caste in the village, but not the head and legs. They are given to the service cars. So there is a hierarchy in that way. Hope I answered your question.
So in your region, is it they cook boti and other flesh at the same bowl or in the same pattern, or they do have some sort of segregation that they don't use boti, that intestine time?
That is there, like
Segregation only.
segregation is there, yes. In beef there is segregation. So like the thing is sorry, in beef there is no segregation. When these 65 these piles are being made, they put this chunk of boti also into these piles. So again, that is not taken to women, that is not something that is directly cooked together. But when it comes to goat meat, particularly goat or sheep meat, boti is specifically separately made into a separate curry and consumed. That is there. Boti is for goat or sheep meat, both is separately consumed. And I think her question has been answered.
Hello.
Can we
Yeah,
proceed with the next question?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
coming to this Reddies or upper caste basically ordering it by phone. So all the people of the village know that these people consume upper caste consume this beef. It is like in their there is maybe it is to maintain it is as they feel that they are maintaining it is a secret that they call it on the phone and take it to their house. But so the only aspect in maintaining the secret is people should not know that we are consuming these meat. I think that is the only aspect that is there. And I got the children looking at this butchering process. It is interesting that this psychological aspect has been brought up. I actually I need to explore this aspect. I didn't look at it, but yeah, what I have observed is children have been looking at the whole butchering process. But yes, the psychological aspect has to be needed. And about the beef consumption, assertion and aversion thing. So aversion is happening at the village level, basically. Okay. Village level in the sense of people who are not much educated. People who didn't get much education, they still believe, and the older generations, they still believe that beef consumption causes brain health damage. Beef consumption causes stuttering of tongue. So these myths are already there. So, but when it comes to educated spaces like universities or and where beef is nothing but one another meat like a chicken like this. So their Dalit students particularly assert their culture that this is our food. No one can say no about it. So aversion happens at a village level and assertion happens at the university. These places.
Yeah, very
I hope I
nice.
have
It's a
answered.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, you have answered.
Mm.
Actually, now I am in a dilemma now. So I think I should read first your paper and then get back to you.
Sure, sure, sure.
Uh, get back to you in terms of all these questions again. And I'm really thankful to both the speakers for this detailed presentations. You have brought up new
Anand,
insights and definitely.
Anand,
Anand,
Yeah, Sai.
yeah, yeah. Can I comment on something and raise a question which has been like there in my mind for a long time? If there is time,
Yeah,
I would
please go
like to.
ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, I would like to share a story or like the reality, which an experience. Like my sister and brother-in-law, they stays in Hyderabad. He's doing some small job and they are living like a proper life only. Not like unlike my parents who works and earns from the labor. So though our family is educated and like getting some job and doing something, migrating to cities for the work and education of the children, wherever they go, people are asking about their like which caste are you belong to. Immediately after, like when we say directly that I belong to Madiga or Mala or any Dalit community, immediately they are rejecting. Immediately they are altering their words that we don't have the like rooms. Before there were rooms, immediately when we say our identity, they are not giving the rooms. Like I have seen it with my eyes. It happened to all of my relatives as well. It happened recently. So my sister was like she is psychologically she feels like why is this happening. We are living with dignity, we are paying rent on time, we are not disturbing anybody, but still, why the society? It's not about the Brahmins, it's the non Brahmins, those who are eating other meat, those who are living like us. But still, when it comes, they are giving rooms to other communities, all other backward communities, other tribal communities. When it comes to scheduled castes, they are like immediately saying no. So we cannot afford to buy new homes, right? Where do these people go? I think this question has been there from long time everywhere in the country. Here my question, like here comes my question, that why is these non-Brahmins or Brahmins rejecting or not accepting, not giving rooms though we are in a position to pay the rent on times. So is it because of the food stigma? Is it because of that our people are hiding identity and we are saying that we are from backward community or we are from some other community and living there? Every day fearing that when they comes to know about our identity, where do we go? Where do I like join my children? Coming from personal experience and bringing it to the general question, why is this stigma? Is it does food also have, I think, is it because of food? Though people from our communities, I think they have altered because of this fear, they have changed their identities and also they have altered the food practices which has been there in our communities. We feel free in our villages, at least in our homes, but when it comes to cities, I think it is everyday struggle for us. So could you comment it with connection to food, or is it what that is making our people not getting rooms or something like this?
Yeah. So when I talk about assertion, so that is basically in a closed space like university spaces where you can actually express what you are and what your identity as NDCs. When you go outside the university, then it is the same thing. So it is not like about Brahmins or not non-Brahmins, but it is the idea of Brahminical ideology itself is averse towards the food that Dalits consume. So uh, as Triveni was saying, Ambedkar did separate the Brahmins have separated three aspects of food: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. Where even in the meat eaters, meat eaters, beef consumers are separated with non-beef consumers. So though OBCs consume beef, they are so this is where this cast of mind comes up, cast of mind that Nicholas Dix talks about. So it is um, not merely in the practices, but it is more in the minds of the practitioners of the caste that this caste is there. S- They also consume beef, dominant castes like many OBCs, OBC dominant castes also consume non-veg like chicken, mutton, and but this aversion towards beef comes when it is consumed by Dalits because the current regime itself pushes this idea of saving Gomata, not non-consumption of beef, and OBCs, not upper caste, not Brahmins, but OBCs fall into this trap of Hinduization of Hindutva ideology. I think that is one of the main reasons why this aversion towards Dalit food or the not giving rent to Dalits. This is even I have faced similar experience when I was just passed out from my degree. My friends and I were planning to have a room in the Dilshugnar area of Hyderabad. So we went there. We have stayed for like 2 3 months. One day we were vacating the room. The owner of the house came to the house to the place we are staying. She told that మా వాళ్ళు అయితే ఇంత గలీజ్ గా ఉంచబోతుండే లైక్ షీ సెడ్ దట్ ఇఫ్ దే అవర్ కాస్ట్ పీపుల్ వేర్ దేర్ దే వుడ్ నాట్ మెయింటైన్ దిస్ రూమ్ దిస్ badly. I felt very averse. What does she mean that aren't we clean? That is what she was implying to. So this it is not just about the food, but it is more about the idea that Dalits are not clean, Dalits eat dirty food. That though we are educated, though we are in higher positions, though we are economically very sustainable, still this aversion is there because of this particular Brahminical ideology where they want to believe that someone is below them. So say they get this uh, satisfaction that is what they get the satisfaction that someone is below them and so basically Dalits don't have someone to actually feel happy that someone is below them. That is the problem. Maybe that is why we are always struggling with this question. If someone was below us, maybe we might also have been fallen this trap of Brahminical ideology. But right now, as everyone is above us, this aversion towards this caste is coming from our side. And also, I think uh, because of this particular Brahminical ideology in which particularly OBCs fall in this trap, that is the reason why people don't get homes because of their identity. Uh, See, if even if you are lower OBC, also you get a home in Hyderabad. But if you are an SC, you don't get a home in Hyderabad. So that is how caste operates. I think that is how this is the problem is Brahminical ideology that I think that needs to be erased. Yeah, I hope I have answered, Anna.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
Diwakar,
Yeah,
thank you.
hello.
yeah,
Sorry
Diwakar.
to intervene.
So,
No, this is
somebody,
PM. Yeah, am I audible?
you are trying to ask a
Yes,
question?
yes, yes.
Yes, I'm trying to ask you a question actually. Also, I want to add a detail. So this is PM Kirana. I'm an assistant professor working in Dawlatram College, University of Delhi. Besides, I'm also a research scholar in English literature at Indian Languages Department. Again, the same university, University of Delhi. So I found one detail quite interesting in Devakar's presentation is that how they use, they use salt to bring out the moisture in the meat. So I wanted to add one point to it where I also observed personally in some of the Dalit households they use um, a green mirchi right in the beginning itself, like they add green michi into the oil so that that flavor will be, I mean, the spicy flavor will be absorbed by the meat entirely, like in this culinary practice in many of the other households we as we observe, green michi will be added after adding onions. So even before adding any spices or anything, so they just start with adding green michi. So this is one observation I made. So I just I mean this why I'm asking about this. I mean why I'm adding this detail is to ask whether if you have observed personally any of other practices like this. And the other insight I would like to add over here is that see, I mean, in contemporary times, beef is very loosely used. I mean, I believe it is quite loosely used. So, where I am staying right now here in Delhi, if I have to consume beef, um, I mean, they are loosely using this term beef, but what they are supplying to the customers is buffalo meat. So, I mean, I have read in many research papers as well when it comes to the topic of beef that pertains to Kerala region, Kerala state. Um, a majority of the population they consume is again the buffalo meat only. So, yeah, the question I want to ask over here is when you were personally observing this butchering, I mean, what animal they were butchering? Like, what animal they are calling, I mean, what animal's meat they are calling as beef? Or are they just interchangeably using this term beef for buffalo and cow meat as well? Or is it limited to only one animal? And another intervention I wanted to do here is I heard someone asking about halal and jatka. So I mean, if Diwakar and Triveni, if you don't mind, can I just elaborate what is this practice?
Sure, sure, please.
Yeah, so this practice of halal and jatka is not, observed in Hindu butchering practices. So this is something quite limited to Muslims only because halal is something where, again, trigger warning, it's about the process of butchering. So halal is a one technique where the butchers will be
slithering the throat of this animal quite slowly. So the blood, I mean, this is a process where the blood inside the body will be slowly released outside. So it is believed that, I mean, there is a scientific explanation also for this, that the um this slow release of blood from this animal's body is believed that the impurities that are staying inside the blood will also be slowly getting outside of the body. Whereas jatka is something that you just you hit the neck of the animal, like, for example, if you see, in many of the movies, I mean, in southern movies, if you see how you sacrifice animals to any goddesses or something like that, uh, you know for example, yeah, Bahubali. In Bahubali, if you have seen, Prabhas,
Mm, mm,
I mean, Rana Dagubati just hits the buffalo in one stroke. So he kills the buffalo in one stroke. So that is the Jatka process. So, which is why many meat consumers also, although they don't believe in this, but again, they rely on what it is called as halal meat. So even in the foreign also, if someone is selling meat, they will be uh, pasting the sticker which mentions that meat is halal meat. So this is the difference between halal
mm.
meat and jatka meat. So coming back to my question, yeah, this is the question, like, yeah, which animal, like, what animal they were um, butchering, and are they using this term beef interchangeably for these animals? Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for that explanation. It was very helpful. So first thing, the salt thing, yeah, green michi is the steps are like basically they put these pop ingredients first, then they put a curry leaf, then they put a green mirchi, then they put onion. So it is same here also to bring out the flavor. So these ingredients are fried in the oil so that they bring out the flavor from these ingredients. So that is there. So beef, but I here they use cow and ox interchangeably. Like mostly it is ox meat, basically the male cow, yeah, ox meat that they use here. And I know a place nearby only, like around 30 to 40 kilometers from the place that I have done the field work. There they use buffalo meat. So there is a variation from in very less distance actually. But the place that I have done the field, we have done the field work, it is ox meat, ox.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
hope we will close it because it is also timing out. So thank you,
Yeah.
Diwakar and Triveni, for very detailed and presentation and answering some of the queries. Try to, I guess you may be knowing updating paper and in a much more rigorous way. You also try to see what you presented as a first part as a theoretical background and the second part as a fieldwork observations, particularly in reference to cooking and butchering. Do they really matching what you have to think? Because the first theoretical background that you presented with the all the authors from Pierre Bourdieu to Gopal Guru and other works is it really talks about hierarchy of food and the social exclusion in terms of assertion or how taste is produced, how in the social conditions. When it comes to second part, it's something to do with the cooking and there's something to do with the butchering. So, in theoretical part, do they really have papers that connect with the subsequent two important concepts called butchering and are there any readings that you are presenting in terms of butchering as a art craft which is essential in. And in terms of cooking, if you read the Sahu Potole's book, you will find how cooking is become very very important essential part. From there you may get some insights to add. Second is, one occasion where you have seen, uh, if possible, you try to see the extreme south Telangana, because Khammam is a different kind of place where you have a mixed of culture. You have a coastal Andhra influence, you have some part of Telangana influence. If you see the South Telangana experience, you, if possible, if there are any occasions you visit, or if not, you can take some interviews so that some generalization possibilities, searching for some generalization possibilities. The third point is, when it comes to traditionally butchering process, mein, one is involvement of the Muslim and all. When Muslim is not available in a village, uh, when Muslim is not available, what happens? Community themselves, people are expert. They do. When it comes to butchering, particularly goat and sheep, uh, katik and even chakalis, because I remember in my own village, it's not that Muslim is already involved. Because last time remember my elder brother invited a Chakali community person to help in doing that. I'm just saying, trying to see how particularly when it comes to beef, you may have a relation with the Muslim or involvement, but when there are certain occasions in Dalit families take place, particularly with the goat and sheep, are there is possibilities of involving others? What is that context? What is that relationship? And the fourth point is, when it comes to a distribution, because this is one of the very crucial phase of the entire process from butchering to cooking. There is a, when there are occasion, Dasara and other occasions, the distribution process is very very important, particularly in beef. How do they kuppalu, what we call in kuppalu, when they go for kuppalu, what makes it? Because there are traditionally, I remember in my childhood, when they go for kuppalu, and there are first kuppalu is meant for the pedamadiga. Because there are matheries, and then the other Kupas follows. I'm just saying, from that distribution, in terms of how the sense of equality is presented, even in the distribution of the meat that they consume, when the community is involved, because when community involves, how the sense of distribution, sense of equality presented. Because remember, there are no conflict around the so meat when it comes to marriages. And there is also film recently that what Venu, some person మేడ్ ఇట్ ఇన్ తెలుగు. ముక్క కోసం చాలా గొడవ జరిగిందనే ఒక ఫిలిం ఉంది కదా. బట్ ఆ ముక్క కోసమే కమ్యూనిటీ చాలా, దెర్ ఇస్ ఎ కేర్ఫుల్ వే ఆఫ్ డిస్ట్రిబ్యూటింగ్, that we should also see if we interview the community elders. And now, not only occasions, there are commercial people involved in some villages, and you try to interview one or two people. Those they don't go for a occasional doing of this, but a commercial purpose. Every Sunday or every Tuesday, they do it in some villages in Telangana, particularly. Uh, what is their experience of in terms of butchering, in terms of selling, to whom they are selling, So how do they maintain? Is there any relationship between Muslims and Madhika communities? So you try to see some detail, some aspects, so that we can make it as a more uh, uh, elaborative, and also updating certain details from different no, locations. And hopefully, so we'll get a very enriching experience, very, very good paper by end of this process. And thanks for presenting, and hope we will get a very good updated paper soon. And thanks to everyone who have participated and for their queries and patiently listening. So thank you very much. I am concluding this session.
So before
And
concluding, can I add something?
Keep following the Satyashoda Collective page as well as YouTube channel for more updated talks. Uh, eh, Anand, are you trying to say something?
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
one addition I just
yeah.
would like to
You conclude
highlight.
also.
So while adding all the suggestions that Professor Chandraya has given to you, I think you also come up with the reasonable insights before selecting the population size. What are the population size you are choosing? So you need to, I think, come with certain reasonable answers for that. So with this note, it's time to conclude the sessions, and I'm really thankful to all the listeners who have given their patience, patiently listened, and they have taken off time from their busy schedules. So I wish to thanks especially to Diwakar Rao Jilla and Triveni Pagilla for this beautiful, enlightening, and detailed presentations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the opportunity. Thank you, Professor Chandra and Dr.